So I'm using this remote controlled car in this video about training Giselle to the lure before hunting, and I'll have a link for this car in the description, and I'll try to put it on the picture too, just in case you're interested. So this is the first time after the molt where I took her out to the field after I kind of tested to make sure she had some response and tried to fly her to the lure. You can see that she wasn't very motivated to grab it. She's a little heavy here, but honestly, if I had taken her out hunting in the field, she would not have turned down a rabbit. But doing this kind of gives you a good idea of where she's at, sort of mentally, and it can help physically too for exercising to get her ready for the season. Although she comes into shape pretty quick, she gains condition pretty fast. So since she didn't want to grab the lure, what I'm doing here is I'm putting a tidbit on it to get her to jump to it. And what I'm doing basically is rewarding her grabbing the lure. So she touched the lure, and I go ahead and give her the magic carpet and reward her for that. And even though she didn't grab it right away, we can work up to her grabbing the lure over the next couple sessions and the next couple days and make sure that she's really doing what she's supposed to be doing. So I'm going to be fast forwarding a lot through this video, so we're not just watching me stand around. And this is going to be a couple clips of me just going through the exercise. So I'm going to go ahead and throw a tidbit to get her off of the magic carpet. And then basically I'm doing this exercise with her over and over again. So I'm going to go ahead and throw the tidbit here. She jumps off the magic carpet, and I put that in my back pocket. Once she's done eating her tidbit, then I'll pick her up on the glove. When I pick her up, I'm not using any food. So I'm just using food to get her off the magic carpet, and then I'm picking her up off the ground after she's finished her food and not using any tidbits for that. So I'll go ahead and pick her up here, and then I'll put her back in her giant hood, and we will reset and do it all over again, and hope that she does a little bit better with wanting to grab the lure and being a little more motivated each time. So I try not to rush her when I don't need to. She's pretty good about kind of coming to me when she's all done with the food. And so I'm going to go ahead and reset here. And what I really like about using the remote control car instead of a different lure system is it's pretty easy to set up. Basically just take it out, turn it on, and you're ready to go. And I don't need to worry about dragging the car back or resetting kind of from a distance. You can see here that she is still a little bit reluctant to grab the lure. So this was the second flight. And this is also a sort of a jackrabbit lure, a well-used jackrabbit lure that I use for the eagles. But since she went ahead and grabbed the lure a couple times with her feet, I kind of want her to bind to it. So I'm going to walk over and put another tidbit on there. But you can see she was a little more motivated this time to attempt grabbing it. And so I'm going to just keep doing this, and eventually she'll come around, and I'll probably end up switching to the rabbit lure, the cottontail lure that I have, instead of using this jackrabbit lure. But this is okay for a first kind of session. And you can see she's a little afraid of the lure, a little bit kind of aggressive coming out of the molt and trying to just go through all the motions again to get back into hunting stage. So again, here's the magic carpet with her piece of food on there. I have some metal clamps that I put on the magic carpet to hold the food on so I don't have to tie anything. And I try to spend time around her to get her to be a little more calm. I don't really mind the mantling that much, but I do know that later on it would be nice if she wasn't. And later on in the season, she calms down a bit. This is still sort of the beginning of the season. Training in a new spot and training to the remote controlled car and lure, which she hasn't seen for about a year, because I only train her to this a couple days now that she's hunting and older. When she was younger, I used to do this every single day, and I did it for months, so she knows what it is. And you can see here in this third flight, she finally does grab the lure and actually connect with it and stay on top of it. And that's what I was looking for. So again, I'm going to go ahead and pay her for that. And the trade-off with the magic carpet is pretty nice. She doesn't trade off that easily like that when she catches a live rabbit, but because it's a lure and I'm not baiting the lure, I'm not putting food on the lure, she gives it up pretty easily. So here I'm again just throwing a tidbit on the ground, getting her to step off the magic carpet, and then I'll go ahead and pick her up, and we'll reset and do it all over. And this ends up being really helpful over time, just to kind of get her head straight and see how you're doing and see how she's behaving, and make sure you're working all the kinks out of the system and that you're not missing anything. Sometimes, you think you're ready to hunt and you get out in the field and you realize you made some mistakes. So this is the day after, and I switched lures to a cottontail rabbit lure. And I also have some friends with me that are filming this, and you'll see that she's still pretty mantly and a little bit aggressive. And in this next clip, when I was grabbing a piece of food for her, I dropped one on the back of my boot. And so when I trade her off of the magic carpet, you're going to see when I turn around that she runs at my foot, and she doesn't attack my foot. She's just getting a piece of food off of the back of my boot. And then I'll pick her up after that, but it was pretty funny to see. I like taking people out in the field with me when I'm training. So here's where she comes over and she grabs the piece of food that's on the back of my boot, the little tidbit that I dropped. And then she's okay otherwise. You can see she's flared out a little bit. This is the first time she's really ever attacked the car. So it's pretty funny to see that. And I have two people standing behind the camera. So there's quite a few people there, but she actually does very well with people in the field. But this is a great way to introduce having more people in the field, is to do it when you're training, and that way there's carryover in the field. So doing another session here, and I'm going to do 4 sessions of this remote controlled car training. And these are pretty easy. You can do much longer runouts and much more difficult swerving patterns with the remote controlled car. The one that I have goes up to 60 miles an hour. It's a little bit slower when you have the rabbit lure dragging behind. You do have to kind of pick good spots to do this, because sometimes you can get it stuck in brush, or if the lure gets caught and it's hitting gravel, you can spin out a little bit. But otherwise, these cars are pretty great and pretty powerful, and they can get up to 60 miles an hour, which is a little bit too fast, but it allows you to have a lot of versatility with training and kind of challenging, your hawk or your eagle. When I was doing rehab work with eagles and getting eagles in shape, I used this a lot in their initial training to really get them focused. It's just a really helpful tool, and it's really easy to use, so I like that. And you can see that as these sessions are going on, she's getting better and better sort of with each round of training, and she's starting to kind of calm down a little bit, get a little bit used to the people that are there. She's not as flared. She's holding a little bit tighter, holding her wings in. She's not flaring out her coverts as much. What's really interesting was during this time, when I go in the muse with her, she started displaying already, kind of putting her head down, sticking her tail up in the air, and flaring out her coverts. So it's going to be an interesting year with her going into this season, just because she's already acting sort of breedy and showing some signs for that. But I have faith that it's going to go really well. So again, I try not to rush her. She is acting out a little bit. She's right around 880 grams or so here. And when we're truly hunting, we'll be around the 850, 860 grams. To hunt jackrabbits, I need to pull her weight down a little bit more. She just takes a little bit more motivation. And so the lowest I'll end up hunting her is around 830, 840 grams. So here she's still a little bit heavy, but if I were to take her into the rabbit fields that she's used to, she would be hunting with them no problem. So that's sort of the technique that I use with the remote controlled car. It's called a Traxxas, and all the details are in the link down in the description notes and in that initial picture. So you should be able to find it if you click on the link. And it's, again, just a really good way to get a bird in shape without needing too much setup before and afterwards. So at this point, it's looking like she's ready to go. She's not in the best shape fitness-wise at this point. Her conditioning isn't that amazing, but I kind of like to spend less time training and more time in the field, even though in these videos it seems like I spend a lot of my time just training. But I try to get through this part pretty quickly so we can get out in the field and really get hunting and really get her tired and get her mentally stimulated, because that's really the best way to smooth out any issues you might run into with the goshawk. Again, I've never had her attack me or be aggressive. I have had her grab my hand when I'm reaching in to kill a rabbit when I'm being sloppy, but it's sort of like a hit and then she lets go right away. But that's just me not being careful and being too comfortable. So that's pretty much it for this video. Again, using the remote controlled car with a rabbit lure dragged behind it to get her in shape, get her sort of mentally ready for the hunting season ahead, and being able to gauge where she's at, and also introducing things in the field like the tractor behind me and having a couple people around. Hope this was helpful, and I'll be putting out the next video soon. Thanks for watching.